Good evening, class. My name is Silma, and today I'm going to be refuting Angel's speech. She's not here today, so I found some faults in her claim. So her claim was that GMOs are unhealthy and unsafe, and her secondary claims were that GMOs cause health issues and that GMOs affect animals negatively. So because she didn't have a third claim, I went ahead and added another claim based on her major claim that says GMOs are healthy and unsafe. So she didn't mention why they were unsafe throughout her speech or through her outline, but I felt that this should be addressed because it is part of her major claim. So my evidence against this was that she didn't even address why they should be considered unsafe, and in fact GMOs are very safe. Independent groups of scientists at regulatory agencies worldwide review all of the data for potential product and make their own specific assessment on food. And regulatory agencies in over 60 countries have conducted extensive reviews and confirmed the safety of GMO crops with 3,083 approvals on 357 different GM trials in 27 crops. Which include like the major ones, which are corns and potatoes and all of that good stuff. Also, these are very credible public health societies and experts around the world. So by her saying that it was unsafe and not providing someone who was credible, I felt that made her argument very faulty because these independent public health societies and these experts that include the third-party organizations that are the American Medical Association, the Science of Toxicology Associations, and the International Life Sciences Institute all have done extensive research into GMOs and found that they are in fact safe, so that is contradictory to her major claim. Also, she said that they were unhealthy, and one of the people she quoted was Jeffrey Smith, an American consumer activist and a self-published author, and she claimed that he mentioned something like that the GMOs would affect our children because it makes them more susceptible to things, such as allergies. So I did a little bit of research on that because he is a professional. So it did say that according to the National Center for Health Statistics, food allergies in children under the years of 18 years of age have jumped at 3.4% from 1997 to 1999 and 5.1% to in 2009 and then to 2011. But I also found that these are independent events. So yes, allergy rates have gone up in our children like Mr. Jeffrey Smith had stated, but there's no conclusive scientific evidence that links the food allergy spike to the GMO food. So because she doesn't have the proof for it, these could be completely independent events. So as a counterclaim, I think that GMOs are safe because they've been studied by multiple institutions and that they offer actually more nutrients and benefits. GMO foods have lots of vitamins and minerals added into them through genetic modification to provide better nutrients for those who eat them, and they are safe and helpful to their consumers. Then she also stated in her second claim that GMOs affect animals, but GMOs have been proven to be beneficial to the environment and in turn are beneficial to the animals that live in these environments. Genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, are made from altering genetic material. So they create new sorts of plants, new sorts of food sources for these animals. There's lots of environmental benefits linked to genetically modified crops, and the animals that ingest these crops become more resistant to disease because what they're putting in these crops is to help them fight off lots of plagues, lots of diseases. So it's almost like it's a vaccine for the plants and for the animals. And it's really cool because they encode it into the genetics and it just kind of works itself into the environment. Many GMOs are tailored specifically for this and for certain environmental conditions, providing a surplus of food for the animals that live there, which means, so like for the cows and stuff, like they get nurtured more, and GMOs actually make them grow bigger and stronger and produce more like milk. So it's really beneficial to them, and it's again beneficial to the consumers. And so overall, GMOs create a better environment and are a good food supply for animals and humans.
Right, the structural stuff is fine, although you're not required to have 3 points, so I don't know why you're bothering to worry about creating a third point just for you to respond to. I don't think that's necessary. The argument on the first point basically comes down to what is the proof that there is a lack of safety, and you suggest that the advocate's proof is inadequate of whatever risks there were. If the advocate didn't cite any evidence, go ahead and say that. There's no quote, there's no statistic, there's no example, there's no fact that is cited. Make that argument and use a declarative statement there. I don't really know what kind of information the advocate used. I'm not going to remember it unless I'm reminded of it. I know what kind of information that you're using, though, and you're using a variety of confirmation from government agencies that have approved these things to be utilized, and you've got a whole list of approvals that are going there, and then you argue for the credibility of those organizations and groups. I think that's fine in documenting the safety of those particular kinds of things that have been approved. I don't know, however, that that's all of the kinds of things that people are utilizing, and like I said, I'm not sure that there is absolute overlap between the issues that you're talking about and the issues that the advocate's talking about, because there's some ambiguity there. You again go to the credibility of the sources, and I think you're okay there. You did a reasonably good job on that. The problem is, I do think that you need to be quoting people a little bit more directly on these things. I think you've got factual data on this point that you don't cite. I think you give me a paraphrase of information instead of a direct quote, and that means that there's going to be ambiguity in the way this information can be interpreted, and I don't think you want to have that. All right, then you talk about the one guy who talks about it being unhealthy, and you look at this, and basically, it sounds to me like you give better statistical information on the point than the advocate had concerning the food allergies, and then you come back and says, but there's no direct relationship on this, there's no link. Well, that's what you say, that there's no link. The advocate, that you've already kind of conceded some credibility to, seems to suggest that a link exists. I think you ought to explain why it's a spurious idea that there is a link here simply because it's increased over the number of years. It may, for example, be that we've had other reasons why food allergies are more noticeable. For instance, we might have wider exposure to foods in some groups. You may have people who we have better testing, and so now we're more aware of those kinds of allergies. And there could be other issues that provoke the food allergies rather than GMOs, and we don't get any discussion of those things. So I think you need a little bit more counterclaim on that argument. On the argument about nutrients, basically you just come down to relying on the point that, they've got vitamins in them. And again, that's an assertion on your part. I think you need to suggest that that's true. We don't have any examples on this particular point, and I don't know that that directly responds to the advocate's point on this. On the issue of the animals, you talk about benefits to the environment. We increase food sources for the animals. That's an assertion. Where's your data come from on that particular point? There's a whole bunch of stuff that makes it sound like the cows become big and strong because of genetic modification. I don't know if it's genetic modification or whether or not there are other things that are being used to produce these results. I've always heard of bovine growth hormone. That's not so much that the animals are being altered in some way, at a genetic level. It simply means that they are given hormones that produce these kinds of things. I'm not sure that's the same kind of argument. If it is the same kind of argument that we're talking about, I still think you need to cite the evidence on it. Again, it's all I'm getting is kind of general references on this. So I think you do a pretty good job responding to the claims, presenting some counterclaims. I think you need to cite your evidence a little bit more, and the contrast thing needs to be a little bit stronger as well. All right, thank you.